Episode 57. Madam Hooch's back was turned, and though Gryffindors below shouted in anger, by the time she looked around, Harper had already sped off. His shoulder aching, Harry raced after him, determined to ram him back. "And I think Harper of Slytherin's seen the snitch," said Zacharias Smith through his megaphone. "Yes, he's certainly seen something Potter hasn't." Smith really was an idiot, thought Harry. Hadn't he noticed them collide? But next moment his stomach seemed to drop out of the sky. Smith was right, and Harry was wrong. Harper had not sped upward at random. He had spotted what Harry had not. The snitch was speeding along high above them, glinting brightly against the clear blue sky. Harry accelerated. The wind was whistling in his ears so that it drowned all sounds of Smith's commentary or the crowd. But Harper was still ahead of him, and Gryffindor was only 100 points up. If Harper got there first, Gryffindor had lost. And now Harper was feet from it, his hand outstretched. "Oi, Harper!" yelled Harry in desperation. "How much did Malfoy pay you to come on instead of him?" He did not know what made him say it, but Harper did a double take. He fumbled the snitch, let it slip through his fingers, and shot right past it. Harry made a great swipe for the tiny fluttering ball and caught it. "Yes!" Harry yelled. Wheeling around, he hurtled back toward the ground, the snitch held high in his hand. As the crowd realized what had happened, a great shout went up that almost drowned the sound of the whistle that signaled the end of the game. "Ginny, where are you going?" yelled Harry, who had found himself trapped in the midst of a mass mid-air hug with the rest of the team. But Ginny sped right on past them until, with an almighty crash, she collided with the commentator's podium. As the crowd shrieked and laughed, the Gryffindor team landed beside the wreckage of wood under which Zacharias was feebly stirring. Harry heard Ginny saying blithely to an irate Professor McGonagall, "Forgot to break, Professor. Sorry." Laughing, Harry broke free of the rest of the team and hugged Ginny, but let go very quickly. Avoiding her gaze, he clapped a cheering Ron on the back instead. As all enmity forgotten, the Gryffindor team left the pitch, arm in arm, punching the air and waving to their supporters. The atmosphere in the changing room was jubilant. "Party up in the common room," Seamus said, yelled Dean exuberantly. "Come on, Ginny! Demelza!" Ron and Harry were the last two in the changing room. They were just about to leave when Hermione entered. She was twisting her Gryffindor scarf in her hands and looked upset but determined.
"I want a word with you, Harry." She took a deep breath. "You shouldn't have done it. You hurt Slughorn. It's illegal."
"What are you going to do, turn us in?" demanded Ron. "What are you two talking about?" asked Harry, turning away to hang up his robe so that neither of them would see him grinning.
"You know perfectly well what we're talking about," said Hermione shrilly. "You spiked Ron's juice with Lucky Potion at breakfast. Felix Felicis."
"No, I didn't," said Harry, turning back to face them both.
"Yes, you did, Harry, and that's why everything went right. There were Slytherin players missing, and Ron saved everything."
"I didn't put it in," said Harry, grinning broadly. He slipped his hand inside his jacket pocket and drew out the tiny bottle that Hermione had seen in his hand that morning. It was full of golden potion, and the cork was still tightly sealed with wax. "I wanted Ron to think I'd done it, so I faked it when I knew you were looking." He looked at Ron. "You saved everything because you felt lucky. You did it all yourself." He pocketed the potion again. "There really wasn't anything in my pumpkin juice," Ron said, astounded. "But the weather's good, and Vaisy couldn't play. I honestly haven't been given Lucky Potion." Harry shook his head. Ron gaped at him for a moment, then rounded on Hermione, imitating her voice.
You added Felix Felicis to Ron's juice this morning. That's why he saved everything.
See? I can save girls without help, Hermione.
I never said you couldn't. Ron, you thought you'd been given it too.
But Ron had already strode past her out of the door with his broomstick over his shoulder. Said Harry into the sudden silence. He had not expected his plan to backfire like this. Shall we go up to the party then?
You go,
said Hermione, blinking back tears.
I'm sick of Ron at the moment. I don't know what I'm supposed to have done.
And she stormed out of the changing room too. Harry walked slowly back up the grounds toward the castle through the crowd, many of whom shouted congratulations at him, but he felt a great sense of letdown. He had been sure that if Ron won the match, he and Hermione would be friends again immediately. He did not see how he could possibly explain to Hermione what she had done to offend Ron was kiss Victor Crumb, not when the offense had occurred so long ago. Harry could not see Hermione at the Gryffindor celebration party, which was in full swing when he arrived. Renewed cheers and clapping greeted his appearance, and he was soon surrounded by a mob of people congratulating him. What with trying to shake off the Creevy brothers, who wanted a blow-by-blow match analysis, and the large group of girls that encircled him, laughing at his least amusing comments and batting their eyelids, it was some time before he could try and find Ron. At last he extricated himself from Romilda Vane, who was hinting heavily that she would like to go to Slughorn's Christmas party with him, and he was ducking toward the drinks table. He walked straight into Ginny, Arnold the pygmy puff riding on her shoulder and Crookshanks mewing hopefully at her heels. "Looking for Ron?" she asked, smirking. "He's over there, the filthy hypocrite." Harry looked into the corner she was indicating. There, in full view of the whole room, stood Ron, wrapped so closely around Lavender Brown it was hard to tell whose hands were whose. "It looks like he's eating her face, doesn't it?" said Ginny dispassionately. "But I suppose he's got to refine his technique somehow. Good game, Harry." She patted him on the arm. Harry felt a swooping sensation in his stomach, but then she walked off to help herself to more butterbeer. Crookshanks trotted after her, his yellow eyes fixed upon Arnold. Harry turned away from Ron, who did not look like he would be surfacing soon, just as the portrait hole was closing. With a sinking feeling, he thought he saw a mane of bushy brown hair whipping out of sight. He darted forward, sidestepped Romilda Vane again, and pushed open the portrait of the fat lady. The corridor outside seemed to be deserted. Hermione? He found her in the first unlocked classroom he tried. She was sitting on the teacher's desk, alone except for a small ring of twittering yellow birds circling her head, which she had clearly just conjured out of midair. Harry could not help admiring her spell work at a time like this.
"Oh, hello, Harry," she said in a brittle voice. "I was just practicing."
"Yeah, they're really good," said Harry. He had no idea what to say to her. He was just wondering whether there was any chance that she had not noticed Ron, that she had merely left the room because the party was a little too rowdy, when she said in an unnaturally high-pitched voice,
"Ron seems to be enjoying the celebrations."
"Oh, does he?" said Harry.
"Don't pretend you didn't see him," said Hermione. "He wasn't exactly hiding it, was he?"
The door behind them burst open. To Harry's horror, Ron came in, laughing, pulling Lavender by the hand. "Oh," he said, drawing up short at the sight of Harry and Hermione.
"Oops,"
said Lavender, and she backed out of the room, giggling. The door swung shut behind her. There was a horrible, swelling, billowing silence.